Hi guys, this is Teacher Ricky of Trimix Colleges, and we are in our series on how to appreciate works of art. This channel is to help anyone and everyone who wants to understand art. We will break it down, give you tools to understand and appreciate all forms of art. Now in today's vlog, we will be discussing how history and art collide. Now, in today's video, we will be talking about the contextual framework of a particular artwork. Or when we look at an artwork, we look at it from the perspective of its context. When you say about context, when you talk about context, we talk about what were the conditions around the artist when he made that artwork. What helped him create that particular artwork. So we ask, what happened, right? What was happening during that time when he created that artwork? So we ask three basic questions. What are the religious circumstances? What are the social economic circumstances? And also, what is the political circumstances surrounding that particular artist? So we ask questions. When we look at artwork, right, we first ask who's the artist, what material, what size. But also, we also ask when it was made and also where. So those two clues give you already an idea on its historical background. So when we talk about art is like a time capsule. So what is a time capsule? Now, a time capsule is a container where you store a selection of objects chosen as being typical of that present time. It's buried for people to discover in the future. It's like clues of what happened before. It's like a book, but this time it is evidence. So you have newspapers, magazines, clothes, books, coins, pictures, film, music, samples of music of that particular time. When you look at an artwork, you look at it in the eyes of an investigator. So you kind of look at it with questions like, why did he use that particular style? Or, why is this artwork religious? Now we will talk about a particular period in time wherein this is very evident. This is during the medieval times or the Dark Ages. This is during the 5th century till the 15th century. So let's watch this video.
Hast thou aye been curious about medieval life? Wouldst thou travel back in time if thou couldst? Doth thou regard thou wouldst enjoy it? How long wouldst thou last? This is What If, and hither's what would befall you if thou lived during the Middle Ages. Hear ye, hear ye! The Middle Ages sucked. After 200 years of peace and prosperity under Pax Romana, the Roman Empire fell into crisis and decline. Thus began the Middle Ages, more commonly known as the Dark Ages, beginning towards the end of the 5th century and lasting until the start of the Renaissance in the 14th century. This was a time when, unless you were a knight, nobleman, or the king himself, life was brutal and scary. Hygiene was poor, money was scarce, diseases were rampant, and punishment was cruel. Beds were not soft, and toilets didn't really exist. But hey, at least you had the church. And roughly 8 weeks of holidays and festivals spread throughout the year. The truth is, life back then was difficult, but people got through it. They even managed to have a bit of fun while struggling to survive. Compare how they lived to your life today and see if you'd ever be able to trade places. Your typical day in a medieval town starts about 4 a.m. The church bell tolls, announcing the first mass of the day. But unless you're from a noble or royal house, you won't be going to church this morning. Instead, you'll be preparing your goods for sale at the market, which opens at 6. And there you'll stand for the next 9 hours, hoping you'll make enough to buy a chicken for dinner, instead of the same old cabbage and beans. Of course, not everyone in the Middle Ages was a peddler. The skill set in any given town could be quite diverse, with blacksmiths, tailors, masons, winemakers, and don't forget the tax collector. At around 3 in the afternoon, most retail businesses start shutting down for the day. And by 8 p.m., the city gates are closed and the night watchman takes up his post. Dinner at your house might not be very special, but up at the castle, the king is having a feast. All you can eat, all you can drink, and not a single dull moment. The fun doesn't stop with dinner. When the plates are cleared, the town's elite take to the dance floor, even the knights. Don't feel left out. The commoners will get to have their fun at tomorrow's festival. But for now, rest up on that nice straw bed of yours. One of the good things about the Middle Ages, they did a lot of partying. It's estimated that in total, roughly 8 weeks of any given year were taken off for festivals or events. While a lot of these festivals were tied to the church, the town also hosted tournaments, which the church did not approve of. That's probably because tournaments made a spectacle of violence. From jousting to swordplay to making prisoners duel to the death. If you think that's cruel, it doesn't really get any better. Most serious crimes were settled by a trial by ordeal. For example, if you were accused of a crime, you might be subjected to a trial by water. Bound hand and foot, you'd be tossed into a body of water. If you sank, you'd be found innocent, because if you floated, it meant that you must have renounced baptism when entering the devil's service, and were therefore prevented from entering the water. While the physics of buoyancy wasn't exactly their strong suit, science did exist in the Middle Ages. For example, even in medieval times, the well-educated were well aware that the world was round. This period also saw the inventions of many items we still use today, such as the mechanical clock and the printing press. Too bad they didn't invent the toothbrush. In fact, if you were wealthy, it was fashionable to have rotting teeth, since it showed that you could afford sugar. Obesity was also a sign of prosperity, since it showed that you could afford meat and other luxury foods. But if the nobles lived well, the peasants were in the best health. Their well-balanced diet of bread and beans, paired with full days of physical labor, kept them in great shape. And as for their teeth, well, they didn't have toothpaste back then, so the common practice was to wash your mouth out with wine or vinegar after a meal. Not very hygienic, but that's not what the Middle Ages were about. You kept your hands and face clean to keep up appearances, but aside from the rich, no one really had toilets or bathtubs like we do today. This was a period of survival and salvation. And whatever people did to get by usually worked, at least until the 14th century. The last century of the medieval period truly put the dark in dark ages, as it was marred by famine, conflict, and plague. Also known as the Black Death, the plague wiped out as much as 60% of Europe's population in one of the most devastating pandemics in human history. And it took roughly 200 years for the world population to return to its previous level. But over the next few centuries, Europe underwent a renaissance, a time when people pursued truth and accuracy through skepticism and scrutinizing empirical evidence. This period initiated a scientific revolution that continues to this day. When you look back on it, the Middle Ages played an influential role in the development of modern society. But is it something we need to visit to see for ourselves? Or can we just trust the history books? I'd be willing to bet most of you would rather keep your interactions with medieval times to the restaurant chain rather than having to rinse your mouth out with vinegar after a meal.
So after watching the video, would you want to be part of the Dark Ages? Now I will be showing you some examples of artworks during the medieval or the Dark Ages. Most of the art pieces are of religious making. So saints, stained glass, churches, mosaics, castles. So in summary, when we look at a particular artwork, to appreciate it better, we try to look at it in its historical context. We ask its political surroundings, its social economic surroundings, as well as its religious surroundings to appreciate that particular artwork better. If this vlog helped you in any way or helped you appreciate art more, please hit that like button. Next, if you have friends who you want to share this video to or who can be helped with this video, please share this video to them. Now, don't forget to hit that notification button so that you will be the first people to know when I upload a particular vlog. So I hope to see you soon. See you guys in our next vlog. Bye!